the process and the end product are equally as valuable. I embrace imperfection as much as I embrace the pursuit of perfection. I decided my fingerprint was how the work is positioned, and I use this overriding sort of construct between tourist and purist to sort of categorize the type of work that I'm trying to do.
It's the 80s, and fashion is gatekept, closed, and exclusive, only for predominantly stuck-up rich white people. But many had a different idea of art. A cultural thriving, including life in the streets is beginning to form. Virgil Abloh is born in Rockford, Illinois, a small city outside of Chicago, where he and his sister are raised by immigrant parents from Ghana. Growing up, Virgil explored the many emerging interests of skate and hip-hop culture, and due to him spending much of his teen years in Chicago during Michael Jordan's prime, Abloh witnessed the dawning of sneaker culture as we know it today, and spent his free time sending sneaker designs to Nike which were all rejected, pushing Virgil to draw, and him and his friends discovered graffiti in 6th grade when they read books like Spray Can Art and Bomb the Suburbs, and they began to experiment with the art form themselves, which can be seen in his later work. Abloh has said that his parents were always supportive of him expressing his creativity, but after graduating from Boylan Catholic High School, he enrolled at the civil engineering program at the University of Wisconsin-Madison to please his father.
I always wanted a son as an engineer, and I'm the opposite of like a rebel type, so I was like, that's the least I can do. For you making that stride from a third world country to, it's like, you're gonna get a son that's an engineer.
After finishing his undergrad studies in 2002, he returned to Chicago and attended the Illinois Institute of Technology, where he pursued a master's degree in architecture, which had a major impact on his future in fashion and greatly influenced his deconstructed industrial style. It was here where one of Virgil's professors told him to learn and use new computer programs for more than his architecture, and it was during this class that he started making t-shirts.
So when we started, to me it was like a conceptual art project. There had to be some kind of skate energy in the city where there's a group of people concerned about developing the sport here and helping it grow and everything. And that really fit the bill for me and Tom. But also, for us, we totally identified with skating on every level that it represented and felt like, man, we really completely want to do this. Not to mention just loving skating itself, but the whole way it made this whole culture unto itself was really fascinating and really punk, and we were
This is when Abloh fell in love with streetwear and began making frequent trips to New York City to solely shop at many of the local stores, while still being enrolled at IIT, and he started blogging for The Brilliance about a wave of brands selling streetwear without the skateboarding. Virgil started printing shirts at a small printworking shop in Chicago called Custom Kings, where he would later be hired because the employees were so impressed with how he sent his files in the perfect format. He had only been working at Custom Kings for a few weeks when Dauncey, a manager for an up-and-coming Chicago rapper named Kanye West, walked in looking for designers. Don saw potential in the young designer and set up a meeting between him and West, which Abloh supposedly skipped his own graduation ceremony to make. But Ye and him vibed from the get-go, and for almost a decade, Virgil became Kanye's personal creative director, in charge of overseeing projects like concerts, stage shows, and album covers. For instance, he was a co-designer for Kanye's 808s and Heartbreaks cover, as well as being in charge of the art direction for the My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Watch the Throne, and Yeezus tours, as well as their album covers. This great friendship working with Kanye also helped Virgil expand his network when in 2007 he introduced Virgil to Kim Jones, who had just won the title of Menswear's Designer of the Year at the 2006 British Fashion Awards. Virgil admired Kim's ability to walk the thin line between streetwear and luxury fashion, which is something Abloh himself was trying to do, and slept on Kim's couch in London for an entire summer and spent time learning everything he could, beginning another friendship that would have a major impact on his career. As they continued to work together, Virgil and Kanye began bonding over their shared love for fashion, and soon became fixed on the idea of breaking into the world of luxury fashion, meeting with Louise Wilson, who was the head of the master's program at the Central St. Martin School of Design, to ask if she could help them learn fashion design the right way, but she declined, stating that they know more about fashion than most of her students, so instead they sought practical experience by taking an internship at Fendi, which resulted in little learning. But Virgil did manage to catch the attention of Michael Berg, who would later aid in Abloh's job at Louis Vuitton. This internship and Ye's first sneaker collab with Louis Vuitton led him and his team to Paris.
So I ball so hard, motherfuckers wanna find me. But first niggas gotta find me. What's 50 grand to a
Kanye's like, wait, Paris Fashion Week? This is where the new collections are debuting. I'm gonna go, you know? Like, I'm gonna use this door, and he invited all of us to go with him. Because he knew that that's what we were into. And he's like, this is where the designers are. These are where the ideas are coming from. You know, like, we would literally be at the Maurice lobby, come down and look at each other's outfits and be like, all right, you gotta step it up. Like, you know, we need to go this way. We're going to come.
This is where they would take the now infamous photo, which would be relentlessly parodied online and was a sign that they weren't welcome. We got into about 60 of the shows. We were a generation that was interested in fashion, and we weren't supposed to be there. When Virgil worked alongside many rappers in Hawaii on West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, it pushed him further into the community by later designing many of these artists' album covers. In 2010, Virgil was officially named the creative director of Kanye's content company, Donda, which remained mysterious but was ultimately supposed to raise the taste level of the next generation. Abloh's first task was to direct the artwork for Watch the Throne, which was nominated for the Best Record Packaging at the 2011 Grammys. In 2012, he started working on his first big endeavor into the fashion industry, with the release of Pyrex Vision, which was inspired from the stigma that people from impoverished areas like his hometown can only make it out by either selling drugs or playing basketball. Pyrex being a direct reference to the cookware infamously used for making drugs. His first collection, The Youth Always Wins, was met with underground success and was worn by many of his friends, but it wouldn't reach the masses that Virgil had hoped it would, so he moved on and made a way for his next big project. Virgil's last album designed for Kanye would become his best known work when it comes to his graphic design, which happened to be his 2013 Yeezus. A crazy, bombastic, punk-inspired album under the guide of Virgil, made with the process to be the purest it could be, with these rules in mind, which would become the first of many designs. The original design was once dominated by George Condo's God One, which was later accompanied by a CD, which represented the idea of the takeover of streaming platforms, with the simple red piece of tape described as an open casket for the music industry. And God One was finally dropped due to Kanye's endless pursuit of perfection, leaving us with what we have today, a maximalist album with a minimalist cover that perfectly shows the topics of religion, capitalism, death, and beauty amid chaos discussed on Yeezus. In anticipation for the release, Ye would do many interviews where he outlined his frustration with the fashion world.
Like, I am so frustrated. Like, I've got so much I want to give. I've got ideas on color palettes. I've got ideas on silhouettes. And I've got a million people telling me why I can't do it. You know, that I'm not a real designer, I'm not this. I'm not a real rapper either. I'm not a real musician either. Like, I don't know how to play the piano. Like, I'm an artist. I went to art college. You've had people who have dedicated their entire life to this, that are working, 12 people, 15, 20 people, interns coming in, working to 4 a.m. that night, slaving to be able to put that thing on the runway, pinning things right before they go out. All 20 collections every day for Fashion Month. That is the level of dedication, heart, and soul that goes into that. But what happens is, for real people, the democratic public, the people who have a normal amount of money that work every day, that like nice things, we'll just make these same cuts, blah, 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 and provide this at a democratic cost. T-shirts. That's the most we can make. T-shirts. We can have our best perspective on T-shirts. But if it's anything else, your Truman Show boat is hitting the wall.
West's frustration would soon be met with an idea that would transition a shift to a more streetwear-focused industry, and Virgil spearheaded this idea. Virgil's Off-White would be his next big break into the fashion industry after Pyrex Vision's end. He knew that streetwear was going to have a big presence in the industry once Balenciaga debuted their 2012 Autumn-Winter collection, which blended punk graphics and luxury wear, and Virgil wanted to be at the forefront of this. Abloh unveiled his first Off-White menswear collection in 2014, using his signature diagonal stripes, arrows, and industrial tags. Virgil also made a point to step into womenswear, which many up-and-coming luxury brands had long strayed away from. Virgil had found it hard to find a fashion writer, so he used Instagram as a magazine of sorts to push the brand to celebrities like Jay-Z, Beyonce, and Drake, among others. It was this brand recognition that allowed him into Paris Fashion Week, with his own runway shows, slowly becoming ambiguous when it came to streetwear. Around this time, in 2016 and 2017, Off-White began opening stores all across the world, world as Virgil began on his, if not the most well-known sneaker collaboration of all time. Nike announced the 10 in late 2017, which would be a reimagining of 10 of their classic silhouettes. He did more than just change the colorway, and he really deconstructed the sneakers, even using an X-Acto knife, which gave them the industrial look he was going for, leaving us with some of the most technically designed and most hyped sneakers of all time, selling out immediately and becoming one of the many high points to come in Virgil's career. In early 2018, Kim Jones announced that he would be leaving his role as the creative director of menswear for Louis Vuitton, leaving many wondering who would take his position. But little did they know that Virgil had already signed a contract months prior, which was relatively easy to see due to Kim's out-of-date approach to design at Louis Vuitton and their recent endeavors into streetwear. But I can imagine that Michael Berg, who was the CEO of Fendi at the time of Virgil's internship, and now the CEO and chairman of Louis Vuitton, had also played a key role in his position. It was also coincidental that he would be working alongside Nicolas Guenchier, whose autumn-winter 2012 collection for Balenciaga was the main inspiration for Off-White. He presented his first spring 2019 menswear collection for Louis Vuitton in Paris, bringing a new direction to the brand with Virgil's signature industrial aesthetic with many holsters, harnesses, and chains. The collection and show followed a Wizard of Oz theme with pieces that were obviously inspired by the film. The show started off with a gray tone and slowly transitioned into a brighter palette. These Oz references were Virgil's way of saying that we were watching a transition period for fashion, with a luxury fashion house allowing a black man to design streetwear collections.
I did not ever think that I could be a designer with a capital D, because no one looked like me. Just plain and simple. I couldn't see. I was like, I'll never get the capitalization. I might just be a designer, but I might do it and do another career, because I was like, I don't see people that look like me. I have to get struck by a certain type of lightning to get that sort of epiphany, to be someone to tap me with a wand and say, you're a designer.
This Oz theme also represented how Virgil is no longer in Chicago, but halfway across the world accomplishing his dream. Virgil received a standing ovation from the crowd. Among them was his mentor, Kanye West, who hugged the emotional designer and bowed, telling the audience that he was very proud. Virgil was in high demand after the show, so was asked to design an outfit for Serena Williams at the 2019 US Open in collaboration with Nike. In early March, Virgil made many pieces of furniture for millennials under IKEA, incorporating different elements of his style, like the bold Helvetica letters, quotation marks, industrial tags, receipts, Renaissance art, and birch. These pieces are some of Virgil's most well-known, selling out and reselling for thousands. But this year also wasn't so kind to Virgil, as he was diagnosed with a rare heart and blood cancer, which Virgil ultimately kept secret from the public. This was until November 28, 2021, when Abloh tragically passed away at the age of 41. But what he left behind was incredible. In 2020, he established the Postmodern Scholarship Fund, which raised millions to assist black students, and launched the I Support Young Black Businesses fundraiser, whose proceeds went to Chicago Cred, an organization aimed to diminish gun violence. Louis Vuitton held a show in Miami with the theme of Virgil is Here, and also dedicated its worldwide window displays with the mantra. It was this brand that would honor his legacy by releasing his dream shoe, which was designed with his 3% principle, giving us these 47 editions of Abloh's most modest and human pieces of his career. He managed to shift the entire fashion industry from an archaic, stale, and gate-kept system to a youthful, modern, interesting, accepting, street-focused industry, keeping up with our modern society, looking into the future and trusting the next generation. Virgil had long had his fascination with the youth, something that has also been seen across the art world, with creatives like Keith Haring and Picasso, who famously said, "Every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once we grow up." This idea centers around how when we transition into adulthood, we lose the skill to imagine and create purely and imperfectly, something that these artists have mastered, and something that Virgil was taught the hard way. Thank you guys for watching till the end. I just wanted to hop in for a second to say that I have launched an Instagram where I will be posting 2 to 3 times a day on my random interests, much like a plastic plant, and I'm also consistently posting updates on videos, and if you could go down and press the subscribe button, it would really support the channel. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.